we have criteria already for UK-based companies. We have criteria for UK multinationals, and we now, from this lunchtime, have criteria for unincorporated associations, or ordinary people can just sign the pledge, if you see what I mean. So we have criteria for 3 types of company. What we don't have criteria for is international companies. We don't have criteria for non-UK based multinationals. And the debate inside Fair Tax Mark is, can we create criteria realistically inside a UK Fair Tax Mark for that? And I think the majority opinion at the moment is that we're not able to do that, and it's going to be far better for Fair Tax Mark to try and create a network of other fair tax marks in other countries. So internationalisation is the kind of word that we use for this. And as Fair Tax Mark, we've engaged a consultant who's looking into developing a project around internationalisation for us at the moment, and that's probably with looking to maybe do some stuff not this year but next year. We might be able to announce some stuff going on in internationalisation, but that's absolutely critical to Fair Tax Mark. So those are the criteria. We are also talking about potential Fair Tax Mark for charities. That's created a lively discussion in our technical committee, and you know, whether we'll get there in the next 12 months, I don't know. It's a very different set of questions, but it's possible that we could come up with criteria for charities. So those are where Fair Tax Mark is in the development of its own product. We've had some interesting questions from the floor. A couple of people suggested that as a way of driving interest from businesses into Fair Tax Mark, we could try and get customers of their favourite business to try and push the business into signing up for Fair Tax Mark. So we could use the customer support that we see in places like you know, UK Uncut, but to phone up, to email their favourite businesses and tell them to engage with Fair Tax Mark. And so we're looking at customer and to some extent we've seen that happen in the democratic structures of the cooperatives that kind of form quite a lot of the backdrop to the already signed up organisations. So it's pressure from below, from the customers, that are driving to some extent some people towards Fair Tax Mark. But as an organisation, it was suggested from the floor that we build on that. As a kind of, as an additional point, there's also the use of shareholder pressure to do the same thing. And we did see there was an ordinary shareholder of Centrica who's a supporter of, just happens to be a supporter of Fair Tax Mark, on her own bat, went to the Centrica AGM this year and stood up and in front of everyone, was terribly nervous, but managed to say, I think you should sign up to Fair Tax Mark. So there's the potential for using ordinary shareholders to raise this, the profile of this up the agenda, and so that was really useful feedback from ordinary folk. We talked a little bit about procurement as well and how that can drive stuff towards Fair Tax Mark. Very complicated legal issues around it, but certainly the standards of Fair Tax Mark, if not the mark itself, have got a lot of really promising discussions around procurement, not just at UK but at European level, where lots of the procurement legislation is being put together. And I think that, oh yeah, the final thing was just about how is Fair Tax Mark itself constituted? How is it going to be able to take all this stuff forward? And the answer is, it's deliberately set up as a multi-stakeholder initiative, and the idea is that it's to try and bring as many people into the tent as possible to take this forward in a kind of collaborative way, in a way that lots of people, we have accountants and businesses and campaigners and a huge range of people in this room. And in a way, these are all the multi-stakeholders that we would like inside the tent of Fair Tax Mark to help us develop standards and to help us develop the projects going forward. You know, we do formally have members. If anyone wants to, or organisationally wants to buy a share for £200, you know, you can become a member of Fair Tax Mark, and then you can sack the directors like me and Richard off the board if you don't like us, and take it in another organisation. So it's a democratic structure. It's designed to be able to be accessible to multi-stakeholders. Some of the businesses that are accredited or are in the way to being accredited are already members, so they become involved in all that discourse. And we have an AGM after this, our first annual general meeting, whereby the existing shareholders and the members are just going to sit down and reflect on the year's progress in a formal way. So we're multi-stakeholder, join in.